An unlikely CO and a snap judgment. She sized him up the moment he stepped in. No suit, no tie, just running gear. That was all it took for her to decide he simply didn't belong. She bypassed introductions, ignored protocol, and ultimately faced a harsh truth in front of everyone present. Gregory Wynne rarely carried his phone on his morning runs. He cherished those moments of disconnection, allowing his thoughts to drift and the cool morning air to clear his high-stakes life. Yet this wasn't an ordinary morning. His hand hovered over his pocket, where his phone vibrated with urgent alerts. Savannah's heat was already settling in, the salty breeze a familiar companion as the cracked Oglethorpe Avenue pavement resisted each stride. Gregory's mind wasn't on the burning in his calves or the sting of sweat. It was consumed by figures, dates, and impending deadlines. A property, a hidden gem near an old train station, was on the brink of a crucial closing, demanding his immediate attention. He glanced at his watch. 8 a.m. Limited time. The bank opened at 8:30. He turned onto Abercorn Street, easing into a walk, pulling a small towel from his hoodie. Any other day he'd head home, shower, and don his sharp charcoal suit. But not today. Time trumped appearance. His sneakers softly crunched over gravel as he passed a vibrant Gullah heritage mural. A few heads turned, a fleeting glance from passers-by. Nothing unusual. He wiped his face again, catching his reflection in a parked car's window. A navy pullover, worn black running pants. Tidy yet casual. He looked unassuming, and that was precisely the point. Gregory disdained pretense. He hadn't worn a tie in half a year. Not since relocating the bank's southern operations from Miami to Savannah, closer to his late mother's cherished hometown. She'd always advised him, don't dress for the room, let the room dress for you. At 47, with 2 decades of financial leadership and his name emblazoned on countless Sovereign Unity Bank materials, Gregory understood the power of discretion, knowing when to speak and when to simply observe. The unfolding confrontation. He rounded the corner onto East Congress Street, just 2 blocks from the bank. His assistant, Simone, was already parked out front, engrossed in her iPad, the AC humming through a slightly open window. She offered a small wave as he approached. Paperwork's all set, she confirmed through the glass. Signed and sealed. Gregory acknowledged her, then headed for the glass entrance. The building itself was understated, a contemporary update nestled in a city renowned for its historical charm. The Sovereign Unity Bank emblem, etched in gold foil, shone above the motto, built for everyone. He pulled the door open. Inside, the air was crisp and cool as banks typically were, a subtle reminder you weren't at home. 2 tellers were visible, an older gentleman by the ATMs, and a woman in heels idly flipping through a brochure behind the counter. A tall woman in a burgundy pantsuit stepped forward, her gaze scrutinizing him. That's when Gregory sensed it. The immediate top-to-bottom assessment. He offered a courteous smile. Good morning, he began. I need to make a substantial withdrawal. My details should be on file. Gregory Wynne. She didn't respond at once. Her eyes narrowed slightly, arms crossing. Do you have an appointment? She asked, her voice flat. No, but it's urgent. My credentials are accessible. The woman remained still. What kind of withdrawal are we discussing? Gregory maintained his composure. High 6 figures. The necessary documents were submitted yesterday. The transaction is slated to clear today. Simone Jenkins is outside with the signed forms. She blinked once then twice. I'm Lisa Edmonds, the branch manager, and I apologize, but I require identification. I also need to call for authorization. Gregory paused. Call whom precisely? She looked past him. Head office. He studied her face, noticing a shift, something colder than standard procedure. Ma'am, he stated evenly, do you understand that I am head office? But Lisa Edmonds seemed deaf to his words, and her next statement would throw the entire room into disarray. A matter of principle. Lisa Edmonds didn't flinch. In fact, she seemed to stiffen, as if bracing for a victory in an anticipated confrontation. I'm sorry, she declared, her voice now louder. I don't care who you claim to be. I cannot simply hand over that kind of money because a man walks in off the street in running shoes. Her words resonated, echoing off the marble floors and polished glass. The woman with the pamphlet froze. The man at the ATM half-turned, watching. Gregory felt a flush of heat, not from anger but from the sudden, unwanted spotlight. "I'm not requesting anything be handed over," he clarified, his tone measured. "I'm asking you to confirm my identity. My name is Gregory Wynn. You have my biometric data, multiple staff recognitions, voice access. Any one of those will suffice." Lisa sneered. "You're claiming you're Gregory Wynn?" she scoffed, disbelief dripping from her voice. "The CEO of Sovereign Unity here for $1 million withdrawal in Joggers?" He didn't reply. She raised an eyebrow. "How charming," she murmured, then turned to a young teller, a girl with her blonde hair tightly pulled back. "Alicia, discreetly alert security." Gregory took a slow, deliberate breath. He shifted slightly, glancing at the other clients. They were silent, but their eyes remained fixed on the scene. "I will give you one final opportunity," he stated, his voice still calm. "My assistant is waiting outside with the documentation. I shouldn't be treated like a trespasser in a building I own." Lisa tightened her arms across her chest. "You don't look like someone who owns a bank." That comment stung more than it should have, not for its novelty, but for the ease with which she uttered it. Gregory didn't raise his voice, nor did he move closer. He simply met her gaze directly. "I've personally hired over 2,000 individuals," he said. "I've navigated mergers, weathered market crashes, and passed federal audits. I built this institution on pillars of transparency, diversity, and decency. If you choose not to believe me, that's your prerogative, but every camera in this building is recording this exchange, and you are currently in violation of company policy." Lisa tilted her head slightly, unmoving. "Then you should have no issue stepping outside," she retorted, "while we resolve this." He let out a short sigh. "I will step outside," he agreed slowly, "but only because I wish to prevent further escalation." "Too late for that," Lisa mumbled, then gestured toward the back. "Security is on its way." He turned and exited without another word. The reckoning outside, the morning had grown warmer. Gregory blinked against the sun, his jaw tight. Simone looked up from the passenger seat, concern etched on her face. "What happened?" "She believes I'm impersonating myself." Simone's brow furrowed. She opened the glove compartment, retrieved the folder, and got out. "She didn't even check the system?" "No, she called security." "She'll regret this," Simone stated flatly. They re-entered together. Inside, security had arrived. A burly man in his 50s, badge clipped to his belt, an air of resignation about paperwork already etched on his face. Lisa immediately pointed. "That's him." The guard blinked. "Who?" Gregory raised a hand. "I am Gregory Wynn, CEO. I'm not here to cause trouble." Lisa interjected. "He claims that, but he refused to show ID and—" "Here's the paperwork," Simone interjected, stepping forward and gently placing it on the counter. "Signed, approved, scheduled for this morning's withdrawal. Compare the signature to him." Lisa glanced at the document, paused, then reached for it. Her eyes scanned the page and then something shifted, her posture, the set of her mouth. Simone remained unflustered. "You realize what you've done, don't you?" Lisa attempted to recover. "I was merely doing my job. We have procedures." "Your job," Gregory stated quietly, "was to verify, not to assume." But the damage was already done, and Gregory's next action stemmed not from anger but from conviction. A palpable silence descended, as if time itself held its breath, waiting to witness Gregory Wynn's response. He didn't shout. He didn't puff out his chest. That wasn't his nature. Instead, he stepped slightly aside, allowing the gravity of the moment to settle. The security guard, still bewildered, scratched his head, looking between the manager and the man in athletic were holding executive documents. Lisa Edmonds was rigid now. Her voice had lost its edge, replaced by a tremor she desperately tried to conceal with a veneer of control. "I didn't recognize you," she said, forcing a polite tone. "We've had incidents before. I had to rely on my instincts." Gregory tilted his head. "No, you relied on your assumptions." The woman in heels by the pamphlets slowly returned it to the rack and took a subtle step closer, not intruding but near enough to openly listen. Gregory calmly gestured to the paperwork Simone had presented. "My signature is present. The approval codes match. My office flagged the funds yesterday. Every branch manager in this district received the internal memo, including you." Lisa remained silent. So I'll ask again, Gregory continued. What about me led you to believe I wasn't who I claimed to be? She swallowed, words catching in her throat. I didn't recognize you. Do you recognize every executive in the company? No, but, so you made a judgment call. Now the older man by the ATM, previously quiet, turned fully. His gaze was steady. He looked at Gregory, then back at Lisa. She did more than judge, he said in a low voice. She tried to humiliate you. Lisa shot him a glare. Sir, this does not concern you. It does, he countered. Because if he hadn't brought proof, what would have happened? You were moments from calling the police on a man for simply standing in line. The atmosphere in the branch shifted, a noticeable change, as if a murky lens had been cleaned. Lisa pressed her lips together and turned to Simone. May I speak with you privately? Simone didn't budge. No, ma'am, she replied. Everything happening now needs to remain transparent. Gregory checked his watch. He still had a deal to finalize, responsibilities far greater than this room, but a strong intuition told him this was a moment he couldn't simply walk away from. I will only say this once, Gregory stated clearly. You do not treat people like this. Ever. I established this institution because I was weary of people like me being told we didn't belong in spaces we already owned. What you did today was not merely disrespectful. It was reckless. Lisa stiffened. I didn't mean, you didn't need to mean it, Simone interjected. It's in the swiftness with which you jumped to suspicion. It's in the assertiveness with which you tried to exert control. That's what you need to examine. The guard shifted, looking uncomfortable. Do you need me to contact HQ? He quietly asked Gregory. No, Gregory said, pulling out his phone. I'll handle it myself. He stepped aside, made a quick call, and after a brief exchange hung up. He then turned back to Lisa. You will be contacted by HR within the hour, he stated simply. Effective immediately, you are relieved of your duties. You are not to interact with customers, access files, or remain in this building beyond the next 30 minutes. Lisa opened her mouth to speak, but no sound emerged. The woman near the pamphlets whispered, Wow. The man at the A nodded slowly, been a long time coming. Gregory neither gloated nor smirked. He simply met her gaze. You were not just impolite. You were irresponsible. But even after her dismissal, Gregory had more to convey, and his subsequent words weren't directed at her at all. Seeds of change. Lisa remained motionless, her hands trembling slightly, gripping the counter as if it were her only support. For a moment it seemed she might speak, apologize, or explain, but the words never came. Gregory redirected his attention to the young teller. Alicia, could you please process the withdrawal using the provided documentation? He asked gently. Alicia hesitated, glancing at Lisa, then back at Gregory before slowly nodding. Sir. I just need a few minutes to input the codes. Her voice was soft, as if she were unaccustomed to being acknowledged. Gregory took a step back, unwilling to hover. Simone stood beside him, arms folded, eyes forward. She hadn't spoken again, but her presence radiated a clear, controlled fury. I'm sorry, Alicia added quietly, about all that. Gregory nodded. Thank you. Across the lobby, the man by the ATM collected his receipt and approached. He appeared to be around 60, perhaps older, dressed in faded khakis and a short-sleeved button-up adorned with a Georgia Bulldog's pin. He leaned toward Gregory, speaking just loud enough to be heard. Don't let it consume you, he advised. She was clearly in the wrong, no doubt. But you handled yourself with grace and integrity. Many wouldn't have shown such restraint. Gregory offered a faint smile. It's not about restraint, he explained. It's about clarity. The man nodded slowly. My name is Melvin Banks, he offered, extending his hand. Been banking here for 25 years. Never witnessed anything like that. I'm glad I did. Gregory shook his hand. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Banks. He then moved a few steps away, allowing Alicia to complete her task. His phone buzzed again. Another update from the acquisitions team. He ignored it. He glanced at Simone. You all right? She exhaled through her nose. I wanted to launch that binder at her head. Gregory managed a dry chuckle. That would have meant a lawsuit. We need you too much for that. Simone shook her head, half laughing. I've worked for you for 6 years. Never once have I seen such dismissiveness. Such audacity. Such absolute certainty that she was right while being completely wrong. He looked past her at the bank's glass wall, where Lisa's reflection was still visible near the counter. "You know what bothers me," he said. She didn't even consider verifying because she thought she already knew. Simone affirmed. Gregory nodded. "That's the truth people often shy away from. Sometimes what we perceive as instinct is just a bad habit disguised as conviction." Alicia raised her hand slightly. "Sir, your transaction is ready for final authorization." He walked back, verifying it with a simple code. A code accessible to only 3 people in the entire company. "Done," Alicia confirmed. "Your funds will be available for transfer within the next 15 minutes. "Perfect," Gregory said. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a slim money clip and slid a $100 bill across the counter. "For you, Alicia." Alicia's eyes widened. "Sir, I can't accept that." "You can and you absolutely should," he insisted, "because you handled this far better than people twice your age and rank." She took it, uncertain but visibly grateful. Lisa remained standing as if waiting for someone to reverse what had been said. Gregory finally turned to her one last time. "Do you know what you could have done differently?" he asked. She looked up, her eyes glazed. "You could have asked one more question. That's all it would have taken." But with the withdrawal complete, Simone had her own words to deliver, and her message resonated more powerfully than anything Gregory had said thus far. The unspoken truth. Simone turned towards Lisa, as if she'd been holding something back since their re-entry. Now, with the transaction complete and the silence almost palpable, she spoke without lowering her voice. "Have you ever been dismissed like that?" she asked Lisa directly. Lisa blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean, has anyone ever looked at you, decided they knew everything they needed to know in half a second, and treated you like a problem just for walking through a door?" Lisa offered no response. Simone continued, her tone not angry but clear and measured. "You know why I'm asking?" Lisa glanced around as if seeking some form of support in the room. There was none. "You perceived him as a threat," Simone continued. "It didn't matter what he said. It didn't matter how calmly he spoke. You made your decision before he finished a single sentence." "I made a mistake," Lisa mumbled. "No," Simone corrected, "you made a choice. That's different." Gregory remained silent, allowing Simone to speak. He understood this wasn't about simply venting. It was about instilling accountability in a way she wouldn't soon forget. Lisa didn't look up. Alicia kept her eyes fixed on her screen, pretending to click, but her cheeks were flushed. Even the security guard leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching as if he recognized this moment as long overdue. Gregory finally intervened again, his voice softer this time. "Your employment status has already been flagged. You will be contacted before noon. I've arranged for an interim manager until we assess internal replacements." Lisa started to object, but Gregory cut her off. "This isn't a vendetta. It's a liability issue now." He wasn't just speaking for her benefit. The other staff needed to hear it too. Everyone in that building needed to understand that the rules weren't flexible, regardless of who stood at the counter. "You represent more than just a paycheck," he added. "You represent trust, and today you shattered that." Lisa's face utterly crumpled. Any initial defiance she'd possessed was gone. "I didn't intend for it to happen this way," she whispered. "I truly didn't." Simone shook her head. "Then why did you double down after he told you who he was?" No reply. Gregory reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a small leather-bound notebook, flipped to a contact page, jotted down a name, tore it out and handed it to Lisa. "You're going to receive a call today, but before that I suggest you contact this number," he advised. "Her name is Dr. Deandra Solis. She conducts implicit bias training workshops in Charleston. It's not mandatory, but consider it." Lisa took the paper as if it weighed a ton. "I'm not a bad person," she insisted. "Bad people rarely think they are," Simone countered. Gregory looked at her, then back at Lisa. "I don't believe you're malicious," he stated plainly, "but I do believe you forgot who you were meant to be the moment you felt uncomfortable, and that's something you will have to reconcile with, not us." He turned toward the door, then paused. "Oh, and the next time someone tells you who they are, perhaps you should listen." Then he walked out just like that. No theatrics, no drama, just clear purpose. Simone followed, and as the door swung open, The woman who had been browse pamphlets finally spoke up. "Damn," she muttered. "That was the quietest takedown I've ever seen." Melvin Banks chuckled. "About time someone like her got reminded who signs the checks." But outside the bank as they reached the car, Simone posed a question Gregory hadn't anticipated, and it elicited a deeper reflection from him. The unending journey as they reached the car, Simone didn't immediately open the door. She leaned against it, still holding the now empty folder, and looked at Gregory with a prolonged pause. "Do you ever get tired of this?" she asked quietly. He knew precisely what she meant. Not the morning, not the confrontation, not the aftermath. She meant the unending cycle. The constant pressure to maintain composure, the self-doubt that could arise from routine encounters, the stark awareness that one misstep could cost more than dignity. Gregory didn't reply at once. He watched a city bus slow to a halt at the corner. An older man disembarked, lunchbox in hand. Just another day in Savannah, just another man going about his business. Then he turned to Simone. "Yeah," he admitted softly. "I do. But not enough to stop showing up." She nodded, her expression unreadable. "I meant what I said in there," she replied. "You handled that with more grace than most people would. I've seen VPs completely lose it over a missing salad dressing at their catered lunch." Gregory offered a slight dry laugh. "I've seen worse," he confessed. "You know how many times I've had to explain my identity in my own conference room?" He looked up at the bank building's apex, where the Sovereign Unity logo reflected the morning light. "I started this company from a folding table in a one-bedroom apartment in Shreveport. 23 years old, $7,000 in savings and a beat-up Dell laptop. I wasn't aiming for a revolution. I simply wanted people like my mother to be able to walk into a bank and not feel judged for a loan they rightfully deserved." Simone listened, arms now crossed. "She used to tell me," he continued, "every system is constructed with mirrors. Some individuals see themselves reflected, others just see glass." He rubbed his hands together, not from cold but from a deeply ingrained memory. "The first time I pitched a merger, I was told to wait in the hallway. They thought I was the sandwich delivery guy. Seriously. Dead serious. That was in Dallas, and after I closed the deal, the same guy came back and asked if I could train his team." Simone let out a low whistle. "So this today," she said, "just another Tuesday?" "No," Gregory said, finally opening the car door. "This wasn't just another Tuesday. This was personal. Because I could have overlooked it. Could have walked out, called legal, let them handle it. But then what?" He paused, then turned to her. She'd repeat it with the next person. Perhaps someone younger, less connected. And that person would leave humiliated, filled with self-doubt. Maybe they'd never return. That's how the cracks begin. Simone got into the passenger seat and closed the door. For a moment neither spoke. Then she asked, "Do you think she'll learn from this?" Gregory exhaled. "That's not my responsibility to ensure. I did my part. The rest is up to her." They sat in the car's stillness. Engine off. Windows cracked just enough to let in the scent of warming pavement. Finally, Simone broke the silence. "Have you ever thought about documenting all of this? Not just the bank stuff. The journey. The why." He considered it for longer than she expected. "Perhaps someday," he mused. "But right now I'm still writing it in real time." She smiled. "Fair enough." Gregory glanced at his phone. The transfer notification had arrived. "Deal approved, funds moved. Let's head over to Jenkins Realty," he said. "They'll want an in-person update." But just as he started the engine, Simone added one more thought, bringing everything full circle. The last word. Gregory's fingers gripped the steering wheel, the engine humming softly when Simone spoke again. "You know what resonates with me the most?" she said. "Not how she spoke to you, but how certain she was that she was right." Gregory kept his eyes on the road ahead. "She wasn't guessing," Simone continued. "She possessed an absolute certainty. And that frightens me more than anything else. Because how many other people operate with that kind of unwavering conviction and authority?" Gregory didn't respond immediately. He eased the car onto East Broughton, passing small shops, their brick walls sun-bleached from decades of southern heat. "She believed she was protecting the bank," he said finally. "What she didn't realize is that she was the threat." Simone turned her gaze out the window, watching the buildings glide by. "I understand that people make mistakes," she said. But that wasn't a mistake. That was unchecked instinct. That was a reflex. Gregory nodded. She saw a black man in joggers and didn't take a second breath before assuming he didn't belong. That's not about policy. That's conditioning. He paused, then added, and it's deeper than just her. They pulled up to a red light. To their right, a group of high school students waited for a bus, joking and playfully pushing each other. One of them looked almost exactly like Gregory at 17. Tall, slender, wide-eyed, still navigating the complexities of the world. Gregory watched them for a moment longer than necessary. I think about them a lot, he said. The ones who will follow us. What kind of world are we leaving for them to step into? What do they inherit if we don't speak up? Simone followed his gaze. I hope they inherit more men like you, she said. He looked at her, not quite smiling but with a steady expression. I'm not exceptional, he said. I simply refuse to accept the version of myself other people tried to impose on me. The light turned green. They drove on, the bank now far behind them, but neither felt finished with the events that had transpired. After a few more blocks, Gregory pulled into the lot behind Jenkins Realty, put the car in park and turned to Simone. You know, he said, it's easy to talk about change. It's much harder to embed it as a habit. This place, he gestured back towards the bank, was meant to operate differently. But that only works when the people within those walls truly believe in that difference. Simone leaned back in her seat. So what's next? He shrugged lightly. The same thing we always do. Show up. Speak up. Keep pushing. They sat in silence again, a silence that wasn't awkward, but full, heavy with significance. Gregory reached for the door handle. Are you coming? Simone nodded slowly. Wouldn't miss it. Before they stepped out, Gregory paused once more. Most people equate power with money, he said, or titles. But real power? It's in how you treat people when nobody's observing. Or when everyone is. They stepped out into the sun, and as they walked toward the building, you could almost feel the quiet strength in every step. Not loud, not dramatic, just right. It's effortless to judge someone at first glance. It's far more challenging to confront what that judgment reveals about yourself. So, the next time you encounter someone, ask yourself, are you truly seeing them or merely reacting to a preconceived notion? And if ever you must choose between assuming and asking, always ask. If this narrative resonated with you or prompted you to consider our daily interactions, please share it. Let others hear this story. And if you desire more narratives like this, authentic ones, the kind that challenge and connect, then subscribe to the channel. We have more coming.